What's up, everybody? This is Ashley Arpel Steinbach, host of Locks of Laughs podcast and the queen of the Hopecast Network, if I don't say so myself. I'm here to remind you that Movie Torture drops every Monday, the podcast where friends get together and watch bad movies but tell great stories, or in my case, fabulous and hysterical jokes. I'll see you Monday. Hey everybody, this is Ashley Arpel Steinbach, host of Locks of Laughs, work advice for me, and of course, Movie Torture, aka I am the queen of the Hopecast Network, or if you ask me, the queen bee. I hope you're all enjoying the amazing shows we have here on the Hopecast Network, and if you are, please don't forget to like and subscribe everywhere that you listen to or watch your podcasts.
This is the Hopecast Network. Stories and shows you actually want to listen to.
MTD on I Trained Voorhees. The untold story of the horror icons and the man behind the masks, plus why fat comedians rule. Published by the Hopecast Network. Chapter 5. The Half-Loaf Revolution. The inspiration behind the half-loaf. When I think back to the moment, the divine inspiration that led to the creation of the half-loaf, I can hardly believe that it all started with a slippery supermarket floor and a heart full of existential dread. Picture this. There I was, sporting my best dad shoes and a hilarious pair of cargo shorts that were, quite frankly, a fashion choice best left in the early 2000s. I was on a simple grocery trip, attempting to buy a modest loaf of bread, when I realized I was about to embark on a journey that would change the way singles shop forever. As I trudged through the bread aisle, a hallelujah-worthy neon sign flickered above my head, announcing, "Buy one, get one free deal on bread." But there's the catch. I'm single. Yes, I was living the glorious life of solitude with only a houseplant to offer me companionship. And let's be honest, it was a particularly judgmental photos. The idea of purchasing a whole loaf of bread only to watch it grow stale, moldy, and inevitably end up in the trash felt like a form of emotional and financial betrayal. Why did bread companies think that one size fits all? These loaf manufacturers had clearly never known the deep emotional struggle of the single person in the bread aisle. Caught in this thought spiral, I became unreasonably angry at the world. Why were people with partners and kids blessed with family-sized everything while us lone wolves had to succumb to the tyranny of excessive everything, excessive carbs? I immediately envisioned a world where singles wouldn't have to throw away half a stale loaf when they inevitably forgot to use the other half in a panini. It was as if the universe was whispering sweet nothings to me, nudging me toward bread solution glory. The idea of the half-loaf was born. A bread offering that said, "Hey you, I see your lonely struggles. Let's make your life a little easier." With excitement bubbling inside me, I threw a whole loaf of bread into my cart, not knowing it would soon be filled with ideas instead of carbs. I dashed home, ready to sketch out the blueprints for my doughy dream. I envisioned a cute little package, one that appealed to singles, sarcastically written to say, "Because we all know you've been heartbroken by moldy bread too many times." I imagined clever advertisements with singles happily assembling gourmet sandwiches using just a half loaf, accompanied by testimonials from people like my friend Jacob, the Godfather, claiming bread should embrace the darkness of singlehood. Market research, I soon discovered, was less about finding what consumers need and more about navigating their whims. Vivid whims filled with despair and a sprinkle of hope. Sadly, when I interviewed people about half-loaf preferences instead of a practical answer, all I got were confessions about failed relationships, midweek pizza orders, and a love-hate relationship with frozen meals. Apparently, being a single person could lead to a debauchery in the frozen food aisle. This was more motivation than I'd ever needed. So I rolled up my sleeves and told myself, "You've trained serial killers, MTD. You can figure out the bread market." While I formulated my grand plan, I even created a tagline that clearly expressed the essence of what the half loaf represented. Because half a loaf is better than none. Save time, save money, save yourself from mold. Seriously, who knew bread could have a side of existential philosophy? The more I developed the brand, the more not just my creativity flourished, but my amusing ability to envision a world where never again would a single person have to suffer the heartbreak of wasting a whole loaf. The half loaf revolution was not simply a product, it became a symbol of hope for singles everywhere. And to think it all stemmed from one ill fated grocery outing. And that's a testament to the power of good idea and a touch of common sense. So here I stand, a man behind the half loaf, trained not only in the art of shaping horror icons, but also shaping the future of bread for single people. It turns out the most ridiculous yet profound idea often came from the unlikeliest of places, like grocery stores, where you go buy your dignity back, one slice at a time. Market research, the single life. When I dove into the market research for my groundbreaking invention, the half loaf, little did I know that the journey would serve as a surreal exploration into the minds of lives of single individuals. As a former bike cop with a knack for training horror icons, I like to think I had the backbone for it. But market research turns out to be like running an obstacle course while juggling eggs. Complicated, messy, and more assumingly chaotic than I ever expected. I began by launching a series of informal surveys to get insights from my fellow solo dwellers. I approached friends, family, and even random strangers in the grocery store. Hey, if there's one place to find single people, it's at the bread rack, eyeing the loaves like they're trying to assess the worth of long-term relationship. Armed with my trusty notepad and distinguishingly large bag of gummy bears for emotional support, I set out to discover their particularities and struggles. To my shock, I discovered that many of my subjects were surprisingly frank about their loneliness. One woman cheerily regarded me with the intensity of gazelle cornered by a lion as she confessed, "You don't understand. The whole loaf is not just bread. It's a lot of harsh memories. I should really be praying the bread for emotional therapy, paying the bread for emotional therapy at this point. Who would have thought bread could be a canine-sized companion, taking the brunt of someone's psychological baggage?" I could practically hear the doughy loaf sobbing alongside her. It hit me. Single life wasn't a tapestry woven with humor and absurdity, and Tara was trying to slice through it with a half loaf. Other candidly bemoaned the nightly frozen dinners, complete with complete cartoon of desserts. One dude even told me, "I've cut my ketchup with wine because I can't finish an entire bottle, and I don't have anyone to share my culinary tryst with." Only in this twisted universe could you create gourmet delicacies of ketchup cocktail, all while feeling like it was the Last Supper. My heart went out to him as I scribbled down notes faster than Jason Voorhees advancing on an unsuspecting camper. Along the way, I recruited my pals to share their sorrow surrounding relationship deals gone wrong. Tragic tales of pasta, frozen meats, and leftovers becoming radioactive waste. It's as if each man's kitchen had morphed into a hostile territory that stockpiled sadness in bowls and pans. One night, Trent experienced a fridge breakdown that was so tragic he had to throw a wake for 3 forgotten grocery items. All I could think was that there was an opportunity here. The half-loaf could spare future grieving souls from the pain of yesterday's bread. It would save them from their kitchen disasters and moldy leftovers while bringing in humor. As the research deepened, I realized that pitful pasta surprises and ketchup cocktails weren't the only literary gems I'd unearthed. The younger generation gushed about how they used to rely on takeout, but now they craved invention. I can order sushi at 2 a.m. while weeping over The Notebook, one singleton proudly exclaimed. Nothing says I'm fine, quite like an all-you-can-eat sushi binge while sobbing about Ryan Gosling. These folks were eager to create meals even if they had a bread-sized hole in their heart, which of course was going to be filled by my half-loaf. So there lay the conundrum. Not only did these single souls want something less than a full loaf of bread, but they also craved community like horror fans cringe watching their favorite campy movie together. The half-loaf was more than just a product. It became a vehicle to bring people into the fold, offering up slices of comfort as they navigated the peculiar arrangements of solo living. I started realizing that future of marketing solutions for single lay in acknowledging their desire and unique moments for absurdity. The half-loaf was the answer as it promised to shield singles from the lonely cosmic void of excessive carbs and moldy heartbreak. It could even serve as a sarcastic pick-me-up because, let's face it, when it comes to single life, we all need to chuckle. Ideally, while consuming a spectacular half sandwich that tasted of hope, or at least of mild regret. So I strapped on my metaphorical lab coat and armed myself with wit as I prepared to introduce the half-loaf to the world. Little did I know, the single bread revolution would become a culinary lifeline for the lonely, and have them laughing in the face of mold forever. The culinary challenge, redefining bread. As my journey evolved from the preliminary sparks of inspiration to a battling ground of culinary creativity, I found myself confronting an abyss of impossibility known as redefining bread. In the world of carbohydrates, bread is sacred. It sits atop a culinary throne, guarding its traditions fiercely, while I, the lower jester, donned my apron and prepared to shake things up. This was not just about creating the half-loaf. It was about battling against the flowery customs of an entire industry, much like how Batman takes on the world of crime. If Batman had a squishy love for whole grains and a penchant for late-night snack raids. With a heart full of ambition and a head brimming with possibilities, I rolled my sleeves up, armed with flour like a knight preparing for battle. I faced my first culinary challenge, the perfect half-loaf recipe. Many a time did my friends chant, "You can't just cut a regular loaf in half and call it a day." I argue back, why not? That's because those bread zealots have forgotten there's more to bread than just being a loaf. But I was determined to prove them wrong, navigate the dough-filled labyrinth, and emerge victorious with an edible masterpiece. My first attempt started in my cluttered kitchen, where I was destined to become both a butcher and a baker. I experimented with various types of flour, yeast, and water, layering them like a diabolical plan cake, not to be confused with an actual cake, which was a slippery slope I didn't dare tread. The first batch rose like it was auditioning for a baking competition, only to deflate faster than my bank account when I found myself washing dishes after making an extravagant 3-course meal for one. My kitchen quickly transformed into a war zone of sticky dough, exclamations of horror, and flour storms that would make the Dust Bowl look like a mere sneeze. But frustration soon turned to hilarity. I accidentally created a bread loaf that resembled a science experiment gone wrong. This beast was so dense it could have been a surrogate for a weight plate in my home gym. My friend Roger, who loves small dogs, stopped by to check on my progress. He took one look at the loaf and said, laughing, "If you're not careful, you'll summon Cthulhu with that thing." Ah, but I pressed on, fueled by humor and the sweet taste of ambition. The breakthrough came when I com- contemplated who the half loaf was for. The single folks who wanted variety. What if the half loaf could be delivered in multiple flavor profiles? And everything loaf, a sourdough explosion, or an interrogating rye mix. As I juggled the flavors, because creativity can be messy as heck, I thought of my dear friend Ashley, the only Jewish actress in R rated films, who knew that so many single people were hungry for more than one kind of loaf. Now we had something to work with. Bread could be adventurous. Every iteration became a little more promising, and soon I graduated to a flavor profile that could earn the respect of Michelin star chefs, or at least summer barbecues. I mixed in herbs, garlic, and spices, crafting a loaf that screamed, "Look at me!" more than my failed attempts at stand up comedy ever did. I faced one final challenge. Should I create a standard sliced model of the half loaf or embrace the artistry flair of the slices, allowing buyers their own adventure? Ultimately, I figured it would be best to offer a variety, so each incredible half could be filled with remnants of culinary joy. As I stood there at my kitchen counter, having conquered the culinary challenge of redefining bread, not just any bread, but a bread tailored for those who had previously suffered through hardship of loaf based heartache, I realized I had crafted something far more meaningful than mere sustenance. The half loaf wasn't just a product, it represented liberation for single individuals fighting against oppressive bread quantities. It celebrated the undying spirit of the culinary world, with a sprinkling of laughter and a fistful of silliness. In the end, I emerged victorious, not merely as a creator of half sliced masterpiece, but also as a warrior ready to conquer the lonely palates of single folks everywhere. It was more than bread, it was a movement, and I was thrilled to launch the half loaf into the world, knowing that these bread warriors would fearlessly cut their paths one delicious slice at a time. The emotional connection, loneliness, and food. One of the most unexpected experiences I encountered in my journey of launching the half loaf was an awakening to the often overlooked, yet powerful emotional connection between loneliness and food. You see, while training horror icons like Jason and Michael Myers, I had my fair share of run ins with fear and terror. But nothing prepared me for the profound realization that food, particularly when enjoyed alone, can reveal intimate layers of loneliness that would make even the darkest horror film seem lighthearted. For my extensive market research, one theme echoed like a tragic refrain from a sad love song: the bizarre intertwining of comfort food and crushing solitude. I had friends sharing their heart wrenching food stories, detailing how they would spend evenings curled on the couch with box set marathons of reality dating shows, specifically those designed to highlight why they weren't making the cut. Picture this: you're eating a pint of ice cream while simultaneously laminating the state of your love life. Talk about a dramatic irony fit for Shakespeare. And there I was, a self-proclaimed hero of bread, ready to save them from their crusty solitude with my glorious half-loaf. In the thick of it all, I realized the scope of food's role in our emotional lives. For many single folks, food represented a loyal companion during those long, lonely nights. For instance, it's a universal truth that a slice of pizza can offer comfort like no human being ever could. A package of ramen could be emotional support they never knew they needed. Unfortunately, the most misguided solace often comes from an entire bag of potato chips, betraying us with their seductive crunch as we spiral further and further into the abyss of solitude. Who knew that food could double as a villain in one's emotional journey? As I brainstormed how to make the half loaf resonate with this deeper connection, I began to think of the comedic relief humor could provide. The truth is, loneliness has an absurd nature. Humans can often become trapped in a cycle of self imposed isolation. I often found myself thinking of my friend Jacob, who, while deeply entrenched in his goth phase, was the one to share layers of silver linings with his irony. He would curl up with his favorite snack, cheddar crackers and two different kinds of children's cereal while wearing a t-shirt that proclaimed "Alone Together." The irony was palpable and in many ways deeply reassuring. Food provided a bridge that humor could cross, transforming loneliness into a collective experience of hilarity rather than despair. So I set off on a mission to create marketing for the half loaf that reflected this connection. My vision was to craft advertisement filled with humorous situations with characters bond over their shared love for food, like two singles creating gourmet cheese sandwiches on a Friday night while simultaneously laminating their empty love lives. Be the hero of your own snack time tragedy, I would proclaim in bold letters, accompanied by eye catching visuals. I envisioned catchphrases that summed up the struggle of the solo eater. Half a loaf, half a chance to dine solo. But don't worry, we've got your back. Did I take a doughy approach? Absolutely. But the hope was to lightly tease at these heavy emotions while highlighting that it's okay to eat alone. And sometimes it's even be a blast. As I synthesized with these thoughts, I came to understand that food transcends calories. It's about crafting connection even in solitude. The half loaf wouldn't just be bread. It would be a heartfelt offering that acknowledges solitude many singles face. Cooking a meal becomes an act that honors the small victories of life. Even that victory is as simple as turning the oven on and waiting for bread to rise. This manifestation of food is what I thought with the half loaf. It serves as both comfort and a reminder that while solitary moments exist, they don't have to define us. Embracing our connection to food, even from a couch draped with crumbled blankets, doesn't have to bring us down. It can lift us up, even only metaphysically as we taste the silvers of hope buried within those warm, pillowy slices. Through all of this, I've learned if the world can feel isolating, at least we can share a laugh over a perfectly proportioned half loaf. From that point onward, my quest was not just about rebranding bread for singles. It was about making them feel whole even when they were halfway there, one delicious bite at a time. Success stories. The half loaf revolution. As the groundbreaking journey of the half loaf unfolded, what truly fueled my enthusiasm and motivated me to forge ahead weren't merely the accolades piled high, but the heartwarming, occasionally hilarious success stories from fellow single warriors. Each story was like a delightful morsel, affirming the purpose of my creation and tickling my funny bone in genuine, unexpected ways. Yes, my friends, we were living the half loaf revolution, where bread became an emblem of connection for those who dared to embrace the single status. Let me tell you about one remarkable tale. Meet Laura, a 32-year-old self-proclaimed master of the couch, who had a devoted relationship with her sofa, which had probably seen more misadventure than any horror film scripts I'd ever encountered. Laura became a part of the Half-Loaf family when she stumbled upon the transformative power of my creation during a late-night grocery run. Her fridge echoed echoing like the haunted halls of an old mansion with remnants of expired food. She bought the half loaf out of sheer desperation. That night, she paired it with her homemade marinara sauce, quietly noting how easily it felt to whip up something delicious while still revealing in her solitude. Little did she know that her photo shoot with the humble loaf and 2 glasses of wine would lead her to becoming a social media sensation, inspiring countless others to embrace the inner half loaf warrior. Overnight, hashtag half loaf revolution gained traction across the web, resonating with others who celebrated the beauty of kitchen chronicles. Then there was Greg, a 40 something software engineer who decided to give Half Loaf a try on the advice of his sister, who, in yet another comical twist of fate, was busy planning a matchmaking event. Greg wasn't thrilled about the idea, but he resolutely picked up a half loaf and documented his culinary journey on social media. Ever, ever, Over several weeks, what began as amusing trial and error moments morphed into an epic saga in which he began drafting whimsical cooking tutorials featuring the half loaf at center stage. He crafted everything from gourmet toast to ridiculous half sandwich Friday challenges that had viewers laughing so hard they nearly dropped their sacks. Greg went from introvert to food influencer, with thousands clamoring to join his adventures, proving that the half loaf wasn't just bread, it was a catalyst for laughter, joy, and a healthier social life. Among the ranks of the half loaf revolution, we cannot forget Sarah, the aspiring stand up comic whose life had been a whirlwind of unsatisfying relationships. One night, she used her half loaf as a prop during a performance, wrangling the audience with tales of culinary catastrophes, catastrophes, and awkward dinner dates. By the time she reached the punchline of, "I can't compromise on crust, but I can compromise on loaf size," the audience erupted and she solidified her spot in the hearts of comedy lovers everywhere. The half loaf became more than an ingredient. It helped her find her comedic voice and build a connection with others who were also grappling with the challenges of being single. Another unforgettable story came from my friend Hannah. As my number one podcast fan and adventurous soul, she took it upon herself to go half loaf extreme one evening. With a group of fellow adventurers, she embarked on a camping trip filled with laughter, late night storytelling, and of course, the half loaf. They crafted a culinary competition, testing out inventive camping recipes featuring, you guessed it, the half loaf. From gooey s'more sandwiches to delightful savory bites over the fire, it became a culinary escapade that would not only satisfy their bellies, but also deepen friendships. With every bite, they became living testimonials, laughing about how they initially thought food would define only their solitude, only to discover that togetherness could emerge from it, layered within warm bread. Each story of the half loaf revolution fostered feelings of connectedness, laughter, and occasional culinary mischief. What had started as a modest venture evolved into a burgeoning community of singles embracing their quirks and kitchen follies. It was more than just bread. It was joy wrapped in half the calories, laughter replaced with happy half measures, and the opportunity to turn mundane moments into hilarious triumphs. So here we are, a friendly reminder that we don't navigate the single life in a vacuum. We invite the humor of our quirks along with the ride. With the half loaf as a companion, we have redefined not just a product, but an entire movement, enriching our experiences. As I glance around at the vibrant stories unfurling before me, I thought, this was a success I'd never fathomed. Who knew carbs could unite us? bringing solitude with mirth while catalyzing the start of a revolutionized meals. Thank you, Half Loaf. Here's to many more hilarious culinary capers. Hopecast Network has reached out to MTD for further questioning on these events. His whereabouts are unknown at this time.